Is disclosure about lights in the sky, technology maneuvering through our atmosphere, of which we do not know its origin? I would argue that that is but a doorway, and it is what's on the other side that truly characterizes what a post-disclosure world portends. Here's Dean Radin from the YouTube channel Future Thinkers talking about a survey that he helped initiate, which asks the general population, as well as engineers and scientists, what kind of psychic experiences they've had in their lives, if any. Here's what he had to say.
So we developed a list of 25 different kinds of experiences that people would call psychic. And then part of the survey was to say which one of these 25 or more than one have you ever experienced yourself? So among the general population, 94% of the people said they had at least experienced one of the 25. 94%.
Wow.
And on average, about 7 of the 25 different kinds of phenomena. So this ranges from gut feelings and hunches, which may or may not be psychic, all the way up to clairvoyance and telepathy without using those terms. So we never use the term psychic anywhere in this. We simply described experiences that people have. So then our main interest was what happens when you go to scientists and engineers who are not taught about this stuff at all. And if they learn anything about it in school, they learn that to dismiss it as superstition. 93% responded that they had personally experienced at least one of the 25, and on average 8 of 25 experiences. So this was a way for us to confirm what we've already suspected, that this is simply part of human experience. I've
had a few paranormal experiences myself, just like most human beings on this planet. But because I'm very conservative in how I judge them, I only feel comfortable saying that one of them is so compelling that I am almost certain, according to my own assessment, that it is anomalous and cannot be explained prosaically. It happened and I've told this story before and I'll tell it again. It happened when I was 14 years old. I was on vacation with my dad and my brother in Vermont. I was sitting in the backseat of a car, looking out the window, and we were driving, and all of a sudden, a thought enters my head. And it was clear to me that it wasn't my own thought. And simultaneously, my physiology changed. I went from having normal physiology, normal mental state, to feeling what I could describe as bliss or pure bliss. And if you want to be less hokey, an overwhelming sense of well-being saturated my entire physiology, my entire being. I distinctly remember that I had a tear run down my eye because of the overwhelming punch of how my physiology just switched just like that. So the telepathic message and the alteration of my physiology happened simultaneously. There was no warning prior to it happening, no gradual let up to it happening. It's like someone flipped on a light switch. It was very weird. And the telepathic message I received went like this: A is going to happen and B is going to happen. Now, while I was on vacation in Vermont, as best as I can tell, there's no way I could have seen A coming, but A did end up coming to pass, because when I came home through happenstance, it was revealed to me that A did come to pass. Now, do I know for a fact that I was told A was going to happen before it happened? No, because I was on vacation and I was in Vermont and I was away from where the prediction unfolded. So it's clearly possible that A happened after I received the message. But what I would say is that what characterizes A is not something I could have known, and it's not something I saw coming. B has not come to pass yet, and I have a hypothesis that whatever did this to me had some sort of vested interest that I gave credibility to it, because like the physiology alteration, was that really required? I could have received the message without my physiology being altered. Moreover, the fact that I was told A was going to happen, was that really necessary? I don't think so. I think that it wanted to give me a two-part I'm going to call it prophecy, because if I was only told that B was going to happen, then I got to be honest, I would be a lot more skeptical or a lot less inclined to believe that maybe B will happen. But because I was told A was going to happen and it did, maybe I'm a little more inclined to believe B was going to happen. But what I will say is this, and I tell everyone this: if you ever receive a prediction from an anomalous source, that doesn't mean that source is honest. Just because that source can't be explained doesn't mean what it's telling you is honest. And that's very important. Now, I'm not going to reveal what those predictions were. It's personal. I don't feel a need to do it at this point. Maybe I will in the future. But if I was a skeptic and I wanted to debunk the experience I had, I think the best approach, frankly, would be to say it's a false memory. Now, I don't think it's a false memory, but I think that would be the best explanation, because I know how I operate, and I don't consider myself a person that's prone to fantasy or being untruthful. So that would be the best skeptical assessment, in my opinion. And maybe it is. I don't know for certainty, but I personally believe that it really happened. I'm not the only person who has experienced telepathy. If I was, I would tell you to ignore it. But the fact is, it's happened to many, many people, and therefore it should be looked into further, at least in my opinion. There was an interesting episode of someone receiving a telepathic message, as recounted in Jeremy Corbell's documentary, Hunt for the Skinwalker. It happened in 2017 by a man named Gary Sarawap. He was outside very early in the morning. He looks up and he sees a ship that is dark gray. And he turns over, faces the woman next to him and says, "Hey, that's a UFO." And as he's seeing the UFO, he inexplicably receives a telepathic message that states the following: "Hey, get back inside. You shouldn't be seeing this. Go back inside. You're going to miss your family." So, being alarmed by that telepathic message and not wanting to potentially get abducted, I guess, he went inside. And then when he went inside, the woman he was with said, hey, look at that. And they both look out the window and they see a big flash of light, so bright that it was like daytime. And then the flash ended. And he stated that when he was outside, it was eerily quiet. There were no dogs barking. There were no sounds. It was just unexplainably quiet. Now, obviously, well, I will say this. The sighting that he and that woman had actually is highly corroborated, because there were 3 areas in the Uinta Basin that all saw the same sighting. So that's well corroborated. Can I know for certainty whether he received that telepathic message? Of course not, obviously. But I think he's telling the truth, and that's just the judgment call that I've made after seeing that scene in Jeremy Corbell's documentary. He didn't give me the impression he was lying, and furthermore, I've had my own telepathic experience. So for me, the possibility is always on the table. Scientists under Robert Bigelow have spent a lot of time at a location called Skinwalker Ranch, located within the Uinta Basin, which has a long history of anomalous activity. Here is what George Knapp conveys regarding the scientists who studied paranormal activity at Skinwalker Ranch. Have there been experiences there that have shaken the people involved? Absolutely. And I think Bob Bigelow would be included in that. I can't tell you what it is, but I can tell you he's had some dramatic episodes that have convinced him that something is real there. And his team have had those episodes. I mean, these are PhD level guys who have worked for every 3-letter agency you can imagine, who are there because they want to know what's going on. They've worked for the Pentagon and CIA and other agencies and in scientific think tanks. Bright PhD level people who are there investigating this mystery, and it has scared the out of them. It's confronted them directly. What about Robert Hastings? Y'all know who Robert Hastings is. He's dedicated his life to documenting vehicles doing incursions into nuclear installations within the United States and within Russia of unknown origin. And thank God for Robert Hastings, because the U.S. government, if you read his book, they harassed, or we can't know for certainty, but it does appear that it was interests within the United States government harassed Robert Hastings for doing what I consider God's work, Because if there are incursions into nuclear installations, common sense dictates that American citizens and, frankly, humanity should know about these occurrences. They shouldn't be left in the dark. That's absurd. Anyways, he wrote a book with co-author Dr. Bob Jacobs, in which they recount experiences they've had with what they perceive as non-human intelligence. There's one experience that really stands out in my mind. Robert Hastings felt like he was shaken awoke after a nap, and he recounts that wide awake, his body lifted off the bed a couple inches, and some invisible force maneuvered his body 180 degrees, and then he fell back on the bed and his head was in the opposite direction. I wasn't there, but I'm going to be honest, I do believe him, because I don't think he's crazy. I don't think he's a liar. And I think it would be very, very difficult to perceive that happening to you if it didn't. So what does this all mean? This means that UFOs are but a doorway that can't be opened for civilization until we passage into a post-disclosure world. Disclosure is not just about machines. It's about the intelligence behind the machines. It's about the intelligence behind the machines' interactions with humans. It's even about the humans' interactions with the intelligence behind the machines in the sky. It's also about human capability, because you cannot separate the universe from ourselves, as I pointed out in a March 4th, 2019 tweet with this sentiment. I think the real reason UFOs fascinate us is not because we are dying to learn more about them, but because we're dying to learn more about our universe, knowing that ultimately you can't separate the universe from the self. Going back to the earlier citation I used from the fine YouTube channel Future Thinkers with the guest at the time, Dean Radin, he initiated with others a survey in which the general population, as well as scientists and engineers, were asked if they've ever had any kind of psychic experiences. The vast majority of them revealed that they perceive that they did. Is everyone lying? Is everyone mistaken? Am I delusional? Could be. Am I a liar? Could be. Is Corey Sirawap a liar and delusional? Could be. Are all the scientists that worked under Robert Bigelow, that was cited by George Knapp in the film Hunt for the Skinwalker by Jeremy Corbell, are they all delusional? Are they all misinterpreting things? How about the millions and billions of people throughout the ages who have had experiences that simply can't be explained? Is it always that there's a prosaic explanation? I would submit that the probability of that is extremely low, and that there's more to this universe than that we want to come to terms with, perhaps, at least in the modern society. But the UFOs open that doorway to reality. How ironic it is that it is non-human machines that bring us closer to reality than we are willing to nudge ourselves. I guess fate is without a sense of irony. Don't you dare forget to subscribe. And if you'd like to support this channel, you can check out my merch shop where I sell t-shirts. Link is in the description below, or you could even become a patron. Or you could just slap a like on this bad boy and I'll appreciate it so much. Thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next episode.